All right, let's dive right into this. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we are going to unpack what has got to be one of the absolute most fascinating examples of digital disruption we've seen in a long time. Seriously, we're looking at a completely organic phenomenon that is creatively and quite brilliantly challenging the current political status quo. And they're doing it by using the internet not just as a place to vent, but as a tool to actually organize. It's called the CJP Party. Today, we're going to break down the anatomy of this massive viral movement. Like, how does a seemingly random passing internet moment transform into a highly structured socio-political juggernaut? Get comfortable, because the digital grassroots strategies at play here are honestly a masterclass in modern organizing. So, here is our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the viral controversy that sparked the whole thing. Second, how a simple parody actually became a party. Third, we'll dig into their specific digital disruption strategy. Fourth, we'll look at the CJP's mastermind, Abhijit Dipke. And finally, what this means for Gen Z's new brand of politics.
All right, part one, a viral controversy, the spark that lit the match.
So the whole flashpoint actually happened when the movement's founder was just scrolling through X, formerly Twitter, and saw some pretty wild statements attributed to Supreme Court Chief Justice Surya Kant. The initial reports floating around suggested that, while criticizing the system, the Chief Justice supposedly compared the youth of the country to cockroaches and parasites. Now, you can probably guess how that went over. For young people watching online, hearing this kind of language allegedly coming from the custodian of the Constitution, the literal person tasked with protecting free speech, well, it sparked a massive wave of anger and disappointment. But hold on, before we go any further, we absolutely have to look at a vital piece of context here. Just to be completely impartial here, it's crucial to note that Chief Justice Surya Kant did later issue a formal clarification. He came out on a Saturday and stated categorically that a section of the media had completely misrepresented his remarks. But as we all know, in the incredibly fast-paced world of digital media, the initial reports had already done their work. The spark had caught fire, and the internet's reaction was practically unstoppable at that point. 4 million. Just let that number sink in for a second. Over 40 lakh people. That is the staggering, completely wild number of Instagram followers this movement gained almost entirely organically, overnight. The founder literally just threw a question out there on Twitter. What if all the cockroaches came together? And the response from Gen Z was just overwhelming. They didn't just want to complain in the comment section, they demanded a real platform. This wasn't some slow burn campaign. This was an instant, massive mobilization of digital energy. Which brings us right to part two, how a parody becomes a political party. From an internet joke to actual reality.
Okay, so the sheer genius of their onboarding strategy is how these young people weaponized those perceived insults. They flipped the script and turned them into satirical badges of honor. I mean, the official eligibility criteria to join the Cockroach Junta Party became, number 1, you must be lazy. Number 2, you must be unemployed. And number 3, you must be constantly online. By taking the exact words that were allegedly used to insult them and making them the literal prerequisites for membership, that is brilliant. They created this highly self-deprecating, in-on-the-joke community that instantly resonated with millions of scrollers.
And guys, the conversion rate of this digital strategy is off the charts. 200,000, over 2 lakh people didn't just double tap a meme on Instagram. They took the extra step, went to a newly created website, and formally registered for membership. And get this, they did all of that within just 4 days of the website launching. That is the exact moment this officially crossed the line from a temporary, fleeting internet joke into a structured, organized digital database of frustrated, politically engaged young people. Indian politics really hasn't seen something quite like this organic, rapid mobilization in a very, very long time. Let's look under the hood. Part 3, the digital disruption strategy and its impact. Their ability to disrupt the status quo relies on this perfectly mapped dual-layered strategy. Think of it like a giant Trojan horse. On the outside, you have the joke exterior. You've got young people literally dressing up in giant cockroach costumes. It's highly visual, it's ridiculously shareable, and it is absolute gold for social media algorithms. But beneath all that satire, there is a totally serious manifesto. They're out there demanding a truly independent judiciary, arguing that judges shouldn't take government benefits after they retire just to safeguard democracy. They're demanding not just 33%, but a full 50% reservation for women. So the big takeaway here is they are using top-tier digital satire as a vehicle to deliver actual, hard-hitting democratic critiques. And because the underlying demands are so deeply serious, this strategy has successfully broken right through the meme culture bubble. Established traditional political figures are actually having to take notice. You have people like former cricketer and MP Kirti Azad saying he wants to join, and TMC MP Mahua Moitra publicly throwing her support behind it. By perfectly balancing that viral internet humor with very real, genuine political grievances, the CJP has essentially forced traditional political players to engage with their digital platform on their terms.
So, who exactly is pulling the strings here? Part 4. Who is Abhijit Dipka, the CJP's mastermind?
The entire foundation of this incredibly well-executed movement rests with its founder, Abhijit Dipka. He hails from Chhatrapati Sambhajinagar in Maharashtra and studied in Pune. But here's the key. He actually spent years working in the communications team for the Aam Aadmi Party, focusing specifically on health and education. So he literally learned the ropes of political messaging and how a new party can disrupt the establishment from the inside. After that, he went off to Boston University to get his master's degree. So what you have here is a founder who perfectly blends gritty, on-the-ground Indian political campaign experience with advanced global communication theory. Honestly, he was uniquely equipped to build exactly this kind of platform. And Abhijit understands exactly why this worked. He points out that digital marketing agencies spend crores trying to manufacture this kind of virality and totally fail. He says this massive reaction is simply due to years of pent-up youth frustration and unemployment. To put it in perspective, if a traditional political party tried to buy this kind of engagement, they'd spend millions and probably get nowhere. It's the ultimate lesson in modern digital strategy. Pure authenticity and tapping into genuine emotion, in this case, deep frustration over the job market and perceived government failures, will absolutely always outperform paid advertising. The youth finally found a digital stage to vent their anger. And they took it. Moving on to our final section, Part 5, Gen Z's New Politics. Are we looking at a new era of dissent? There is a really fascinating regional contrast we need to look at here. Recently, we've seen Gen Z-led movements in neighboring countries, places like Nepal, Sri Lanka, and Bangladesh, that actually resulted in physical uprisings and even literal regime changes. But Abhijit makes a really interesting point. He says comparing Indian Gen Z to those movements is actually kind of an insult to Indian youth. Why? Because India's Gen Z is utilizing highly educated, peaceful, democratic satire. Instead of violent street clashes, what are they doing? They're putting on giant cockroach costumes, going down to the Yamuna River, and peacefully cleaning up garbage just to mock the system's failures. It's a profoundly effective blend of digital strategy and physical, nonviolent dissent. And we have to be clear, their actual demands are incredibly specific. This demographic is just entirely exhausted by traditional political talking points. According to the CJP's platform, the youth want real technological advancement and, most importantly, meaningful employment. They are totally tired of politicians comparing India to Nepal, Pakistan, or Bangladesh. They want to benchmark their future against the very best nations globally. And notably, they are firmly demanding an end to what they describe as 10 to 12 years of constant Hindu-Muslim preaching. They're essentially saying, we don't want to be treated like cockroaches. We want modern, progressive, and strictly results-driven governance. Which brings us to the ultimate question we have to ask ourselves. Is this whole thing just a really good parody? Or are we literally looking at the blueprint for future politics? Abhijit just graduated from Boston University last week, and he's headed back to India to take this movement to the next level. With over 2 lakh formally registered members in a matter of days, it's pretty safe to say this isn't just a meme anymore. It is a loud, incredibly clear signal that Gen Z wants their own political front, and they are using digital tools to build it from the absolute ground up. Will the Cockroach Janta Party be able to translate this URL viral energy into actual IRL voting power? That is the space we all need to be watching closely. Thank you guys so much for joining me on this explainer today. Keep asking those big questions, and I will see you next time.